Long before Aristotle, early Greek thinkers were already trying to decipher the natural world. They wanted to know why things exist, where they come from, and why they disappear. Their approach usually involved tracing everything back to a single origin. If asked what the universe was made of, they would point to raw materials like water or fire as the ultimate source of reality. Aristotle looked at these early attempts and saw a glaring flaw. These philosophers had no technique. They were like inexperienced boxers swinging wildly in the dark. Every now and then, someone lands a hit by pure luck. He described their methods with a specific phrase, amouduros kai outen saphos. That translates to speaking without distinctions and without clarity. Stumbling onto a correct observation by accident is not the same thing as understanding it. A lucky punch does not make you a master boxer, and a lucky guess about water or fire does not mean you have actual knowledge. This brings us to Aristotle's core thesis. To possess true scientific knowledge, what the Greeks called episteme, you have to grasp the complete cause of a phenomenon. To do that, he proposed a framework known as causal pluralism. In his system, cause is a multifaceted concept. To truly explain something, you have to answer up to 4 distinct, irreducible questions. Aristotle's objective was to move beyond uncoordinated insights and build a rigorous, universal architecture for asking why. To explain the rules of this causality, Aristotle started with something highly familiar, human craft or artistic production. Let's use his specific test case, the production of a bronze statue. The first requirement is the material cause, in this case, the bronze itself. Aristotle defines this as the subject of change, the specific substance that must undergo a physical transformation to reach its final state. Second is the formal cause. This is the essence, the specific shape, or the what it is to be of the object. It is the blueprint the bronze is meant to take on. Third is the efficient cause, which answers the question of where the immediate change comes from. Here, Aristotle draws a sharp distinction between intrinsic and coincidental causes. The person making the statue might be a father or a musician, but those descriptions are coincidental. They do not explain how the statue actually gets made. The exact intrinsic efficient cause is the localized knowledge required to do the work. It is the art of bronze casting itself, manifesting through the artisan. Finally, we have the final cause, or the telos. This is the end product. Melting the metal, preparing the mold, pouring the bronze. None of these steps happen in a vacuum. Every prior step in the casting process exists solely for the sake of achieving that final cause. Notice how this sequence explains the entire production process perfectly without ever needing to reference the human artisan's personal desires, beliefs, or psychology. By isolating these 4 factors, we upgrade our understanding of cause from a simple physical trigger into a structural map of how potential becomes actual. Once Aristotle established this framework using human artifacts, he pivoted to biological phenomena. He needed to defend the idea that nature itself acts towards specific ends, a concept his opponents rejected. The opposing thinkers asked a simple question: why can't all biological traits just be the result of random material coincidences? They outlined a purely mechanistic model of nature. Consider rain. Warm air is drawn up, cools off, becomes water, and falls strictly by physical necessity. If that falling water happens to nourish a farmer's crop, that is a blind coincidence. The rain does not fall in order to grow the crops. Aristotle countered this by pointing to anatomy. This anatomical schematic of a human jaw highlights a highly specific arrangement of teeth. We have sharp incisors in the front, perfectly suited for tearing food, and broad molars in the back, built for grinding it. If this arrangement were just a material accident like the rain, it wouldn't happen consistently. Material coincidence cannot account for persistent generational regularity across species. Because this regularity is undeniable, it demands a direct causal connection to survival. These specific parts exist for the sake of a biological good. This introduces a specific Aristotelian concept regarding physical matter known as hypothetical necessity. Strict physical necessity, like gravity or the cooling of rain, happens automatically, regardless of the outcome. In biology, material processes operate conditionally. The precise steps required to grow teeth occur because they are necessary if the end goal of a functional jaw is to be achieved. By modeling biology on art, Aristotle successfully secures a teleological science of nature. The end goal dictates biological development entirely free from any conscious design. This creates a tension over explanatory priority. In biological generation, what drives the logic? The physical process of growth, or the final outcome? Consider the philosopher Empedocles, who theorized that the human spine is segmented into vertebrae strictly as a mechanical result of the fetus twisting and turning inside the womb. But there is a fatal explanatory gap in that model. Where does the fetus get the specific power to twist in that exact manner in the first place? Aristotle delivers a counterprinciple. Generation is for the sake of substance. You can only explain the development of the spine by looking at the fully formed human being. So the framework is robust, but we need to test its boundary limits. Does every phenomenon in nature possess all four causes? Let's look at the ultimate stress test case, a lunar eclipse. An eclipse has no final cause. It serves no biological or teleological good. It also has no strict material cause. An eclipse is a temporary event that happens to the moon, not a substance made of it. This schematic shows that the precise scientific explanation relies entirely on its formal cause, which is the deprivation of light, and its proximate efficient cause, which is the Earth coming between the sun and the moon. Scientific rigor requires identifying only the specific explanatory factors relevant to the phenomenon. This precision is far more valuable than dogmatically forcing every case to fit all four causes. Aristotle's four causes form an agile diagnostic toolkit, capable of scaling across very different types of reality. Whether you are analyzing a human artifact, a biological organism, or a cosmological event, the framework functions logically within the system. For the first time, this logic bridged the gap between human craft and natural law. And this localized method of physical science connects directly to Aristotle's broader pursuit in the metaphysics, the science of being qua being. Any higher investigation into the nature of reality must rely on this exact same causal methodology to succeed. We are no longer those uncoordinated philosophers from the past, swinging wildly and blindfolded at the mysteries of the natural world. True wisdom, or Sophia, is only attained when we move beyond observing raw events and master the precise architecture of asking why.